One company, 500 beer brands, 50 countries. 1 in every 4 beers consumed anywhere on Earth. You probably can't name them, but you have definitely bought their beer. And here's the part that's going to stick with you. That craft beer you specifically chose, the one with the cool label, the interesting name, the story about a small local brewery right there on the tap handle, there is a very good chance it belongs to the same corporation that makes Budweiser. Same owner, different sticker. By the end of this video, you will know exactly how a small Belgian brewing company became the most dominant beverage corporation in human history in under 30 years. You'll see the complete list of craft breweries they quietly bought, and I'll give you a fast, simple way to check any beer, right now, on your phone, before you buy it. This is the story of AB InBev, Anheuser-Busch InBev, a company formed in 2008 through the largest all-cash corporate acquisition in history, a company that most people couldn't name on a bet, but whose products they've been buying their entire adult lives. When you walk into a bar and you see 20 tap handles, different names, different logos, different stories on the chalkboard about a small local brewer, you feel like you're choosing between 20 different things. That feeling? Completely engineered. Because a huge percentage of those handles, those cans in the cooler, those craft beers with cool artwork, owned by one company based in Belgium. And they've been building this quietly, systematically, one acquisition at a time for 30 years. This video is the full story, the history, the strategy, the craft brewery buyouts, the distribution lock, and exactly what you can do about it the next time you're at a bar. Let's go. To understand how we got here, we need to go to St. Louis, Missouri, 1852. A German immigrant named Eberhard Anheuser buys a struggling local brewery called Bavarian Brewery. He's actually a successful soap and candle manufacturer. Beer is a side investment at first. Then his daughter Lily marries a young German-born beer salesman named Adolphus Busch. And Adolphus is something else entirely. Charming, visionary, relentless, and obsessed with making German-quality beer for the American mass market. In 1876, Adolphus launches a beer named after a region in Bohemia, a place called Budweiser, in what is now the Czech Republic, and calls it Budweiser. He wanted it to sound European, sophisticated, premium, and he built a national distribution network to match. Refrigerated rail cars, a chain of ice houses, direct distributor relationships in every major American city. By the time Adolphus died in 1913, Anheuser-Busch was the largest brewery in the United States. Now, while all of this is happening in St. Louis, something completely separate is developing in Belgium. In the city of Leuven, there's a brewery that's been operating since 1366. One of the oldest continuously operating breweries in the world. In 1926, they launch a special Christmas beer and name it after the Latin word for star. They call it Stella Artois. For most of the 20th century, it's a respected Belgian lager. But the company behind it, Interbrew, has much bigger plans quietly forming. Here's the part nobody talks about. Because people think of AB InBev as Belgian-American, but the real engine behind its rise is Brazilian. 3 businessmen, Jorge Paulo Lemon, Marcel Teles, and Carlos Alberto Sicapira, built the most ruthlessly efficient private equity machine in South American history. They developed a philosophy called zero-based budgeting. Every department, every year, budget starts at 0. Justify every dollar from scratch. No legacy costs, no secret cows, cut everything that doesn't earn its place. A quick science break. Beer is 4 things: water, malted barley, hops, and yeast. That's the entire recipe. Different ratios, different hop varieties, different yeast strains, different barley roast levels. That's what separates a light lager from a dark stout from an IPA. Simple. But here's what changes at industrial scale. Adjunct ingredients, corn, rice, get added to mass market lagers to reduce cost and lighten flavor. Budweiser uses rice alongside barley. Always has. Before the big deal, there's one chapter in the Anheuser-Busch story that reveals everything about the company's character. Prohibition. 1920 to 1933. 14 years. For most American breweries, Prohibition was a death sentence. Hundreds closed and never reopened. Anheuser-Busch survived by pivoting completely. They made malt syrup, ice cream, yeast, cold storage, even truck bodies. They kept every distribution relationship warm. And when repeal came in 1933, they were ready for the ink was drawed. And when Prohibition ended in 1933, Anheuser-Busch sent a case of Budweiser to President Roosevelt on the day repeal was signed. Not by truck, by horse-drawn wagon, specifically a gleaming red and gold delivery wagon pulled by 8 Clydesdale horses. A publicity stunt so perfectly executed that it became a Super Bowl tradition that still runs today. 90 years of brand equity built in a single afternoon in St. Louis. Jump to 2004. Interbrew, the Belgian company behind Stella Artois, merges with InBev, the Brazilian beer giant controlled by the 3G Capital Network. They call the new company InBev, and InBev immediately has one target in mind: the brand that is, by volume, the best-selling beer in the entire world. The brand that represents American culture at its most broadly exported. They want Budweiser. They want Anheuser-Busch, and they are going to be patient about getting it. When InBev made its initial approach in 2008, the Anheuser-Busch board rejected it. The CEO, August Busch IV, great-great-grandson of the founder, was confident they were untouchable, an American institution. He launched offensive measures, lobbied politicians, appealed to American patriotism. And InBev CEO, Carlos Brito, just kept raising the offer, calmly, methodically, like he was filling in a form. Because at 3G Capital, patience isn't a virtue. It's a weapon. July 14th, 2008. The shareholders, not the family, the shareholders say yes. InBev acquires Anheuser-Busch for $52 billion, at the time the largest all-cash acquisition in corporate history. And almost immediately, the 3G Capital playbook activates. 11,000 employees are laid off in year one. Costs are cut with surgical precision, and the combined company, AB InBev, emerges as the largest beer company on Earth. Carlos Brito starts looking for the next deal. Quick pause. Drop a comment right now. What beer brand do you drink most? Your actual go-to? Because here's my honest prediction. A huge percentage of you are about to find out it's owned by the company we're talking about. And a few of you who think you're totally independent might be surprised. Drop it below. Back in 30 seconds. But $52 billion wasn't the peak. Not even close. By 2015, AB InBev identifies the next target. SABMiller, owners of Miller Lite, Peroni, Grolsch, Pilsner Urquell, and a sprawling portfolio of African, Asian, and Latin American brands. The second largest beer company in the world. And in 2016, after months of global regulatory battles, AB InBev acquires SABMiller for $107 billion. $107 billion. More than the GDP of over 100 countries. Here is what the empire looks like today. AB InBev controls roughly 27 to 28% of all beers sold globally by volume, 1 in 4. Their annual revenue exceeds $59 billion. They operate in over 50 countries. They produce more beer in a single year than the entire American craft beer industry has produced in its entire history. And they do it under 500 different brand names, most of which do not mention AB InBev anywhere. But by the early 2010s, there's a problem. The craft beer movement is exploding. Microbreweries, local tap rooms, independent regional brewers, consumers, especially younger ones, are specifically rejecting mass-market beer. They're actively seeking something that isn't corporate. And every craft pint sold is a pint that didn't go to Budweiser or Bud Light. It's a direct threat to market share. And AB InBev's response to this threat is the most calculated move in their entire history. 2011. AB InBev acquires Goose Island Brewing Company of Chicago for $38.8 million. And here is the key move. They don't rebrand it. They don't put the Budweiser logo on the tap handle. Goose Island keeps its name, its label art, its story about being a small Chicago brewery. The customers who chose it specifically because it wasn't corporate, most of them never found out. And Goose Island was just the first. After Goose Island, they accelerate. Blue Point Brewing, New York, 2014. 10 Barrel Brewing, Oregon, 2014. Elysian Brewing, Seattle, 2015. Golden Road, Los Angeles, 2015. Four Peaks, Arizona, 2015. Breckenridge Brewery, Colorado, 2016. Devil's Backbone, Virginia, 2016. Carback Brewing, Texas, 2016. Wicked Weed, North Carolina, 2017. All managed under the high-end division. All kept looking independent, all profits flowing back to Belgium. And here's the piece nobody talks about enough. The American beer distribution system, called the three-tier system, legally requires beer to move from producer through a licensed distributor before it reaches a bar or store. You can't skip the middleman. And AB InBev over decades has built the deepest relationships with the most powerful distributors in every major American market. If the biggest distributor in your city is essentially a de facto AB InBev operation, every independent brewery in that city is fighting uphill always. Now, AB InBev isn't the only consolidator. Molson Coors Beverage Company owns Coors Light, Miller Lite, Blue Moon, Molson Canadian, Leinenkugels, Keystone, and more. Blue Moon in particular is fascinating. It's been marketed with a craft-adjacent aesthetic, the orange slice, the artisan look, and for years many consumers assumed it was independent. It was created by a Coors brewer named Keith Vila in 1995. It has always been a Coors, now Molson Coors product. Different company, identical playbook. Okay, how do you actually know if your beer is genuinely independent? Fast answer, there is a tool called Is This Beer Independent run by the Brewers Association, the trade organization for American independent craft breweries. You can search any brand name and find out immediately. They also have a certified independent seal, a small upside-down bottle icon that genuine independent breweries can put on packaging. See the seal? Independent. Don't see it? Look it up. And here are the brands that fool people most often. The AB InBev craft acquisitions that still look independent. Goose Island, Elysian, 10 Barrel, Golden Road, Blue Point, Four Peaks, Breckenridge, Devil's Backbone, Carback, Wicked Weed, and Shock Top, which was never actually a craft beer despite its artisanal branding. It was created by Anheuser-Busch in 1995. To be clear, this is not about whether they taste good. Some of them are excellent. It's about knowing what you're actually supporting. Now, because this series always ends with the alternative, here are the genuinely independent brands worth knowing. Sierra Nevada, founded 1980, Chico, California, still family-owned, still excellent. New Belgium Brewing, Fort Collins, Colorado, employee-owned since 2013, an unusual and admirable structure. Samuel Adams, made by Boston Beer Company, independent, publicly traded, original pioneer of American craft. Allagash Brewing, Portland, Maine, still founder-owned. These are the breweries where your dollar goes somewhere genuinely different. Here's the question the craft beer community has never fully resolved. What does craft actually mean when the biggest corporation in global beer history is buying craft breweries and keeping their names, their aesthetics, their stories, their staff, and usually, at least initially, their recipes? Some people genuinely don't care. They just want a good beer at a fair price. Completely valid. Some people care deeply. Also completely valid. You forget to make that choice consciously, not have it made for you by a tap handle. And here's the broader lesson this story shares with paint, glasses, and mattresses. Private equity doesn't acquire beloved brands because it wants to make them worse. It acquires them because they're valuable. But in a 5 to 7 year return cycle, the pressure to cut costs, optimize margins, and reduce material quality is structural and relentless. The craft breweries AB InBev bought are still making good beer, but the economics of that beer, who it enriches, what decisions get made about ingredients, those changed the day the deal closed. And here's what I want you to notice, because 4 episodes in, the pattern is almost uncomfortably clear. Paint, glasses, mattresses, beer, 4 industries, 4 completely different origins going back to the 1850s, the 1860s, the 1880s, the 1920s. And every single time, without exception, the same sequence plays out. Innovation, competition, brand loyalty, acquisition, names preserved, quality optimized, pricing made harder to compare, and the consumer surrounded by the appearance of choice. Every time, same story, different label. Final summary, fast. 1. AB InBev controls roughly 1 in 4 beers consumed on Earth. 2. They own Budweiser, Bud Light, Corona, Stella Artois, Beck's, Hoegaarden, Leffe, and hundreds more mainstream brands. 3. Since 2011, they've been buying American craft breweries: Goose Island, Elysian, 10 Barrel, Golden Road, Blue Point, Four Peaks, Breckenridge, Devil's Backbone, Karbach, Wicked Weed, and keeping their independent-looking branding completely intact. 4. Molson Coors runs a parallel playbook. Blue Moon is not craft beer. 5. Use the Brewers Association's Is This Beer Independent tool before you buy. Look for the upside-down bottle seal. 6. Genuinely independent brands worth supporting: Sierra Nevada, New Belgium, Samuel Adams, Oligash, Dogfish Head. 7. Craft beer is not dead, but it requires active navigation to find the real thing. And now, you have the map. Share this video with anyone you know who drinks craft beer and thinks they're supporting something independent. You will start a conversation. And now, episode 5. Because if you've made it through 4 of these and you're still watching, you are the exact kind of person who needs to know what's coming next. We're going into the supermarket, specifically store brands. Great Value, Kirkland Signature, Market Pantry, because here is the thing about store brands that almost nobody tells you. The generic cereal sitting next to the Kellogg's on the shelf, very often made in the same factory, same machine, same recipe, different box, and the markup story makes mattresses look modest. If you've been with this series from the beginning, thank you. Genuinely. These videos take a lot of research, a lot of sourcing, and a real commitment to getting the facts right. If this one gave you something, a conversation starter, something you use the next time you're at a bar, or just the satisfaction of knowing something most people don't, hit subscribe, hit the bell, and share this with one person who drinks craft beer. That's all I ask. See you next week.